Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we tear through the data stack you shared with us and give you the immediate knowledge you need, tailored just for you.
And we just survived a truly historic wild card weekend. I mean, 4 of the 6 games were decided by 4 points or less.
Incredible comebacks, major upsets. The chaos was, you could feel it.
You really could.
And all that drama has perfectly set the stage for, well, the most high-stakes games of the year. We've got the final 8, and the 2 giants, the Broncos and the Seahawks, they're finally stepping into the ring.
Right. And our mission today is to, cut through all that noise. We've gone through the analysis, the forecasts, a lot of the great breakdowns from sportsbrackets.net to really build your definitive guide for this divisional round.
So we're looking at how the momentum from these road warriors stacks up against, well, the rest and home field advantage of the top seeds.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack that chaos then. Because Wildcard Weekend wasn't just, a bunch of games, it was a momentum engine. What were the moments that really changed the path for the team still in it?
You have to start in Chicago. I mean, you just have to. The Bears staging the 3rd largest fourth-quarter comeback in NFL playoff history.
Against the Packers, no less. That wasn't just a win. It felt like a story being written right there.
It was. Caleb Williams, he calls himself the comeback kid, and he threw for over 180 yards in that 4th quarter alone.
Wow.
And the analysis we saw from the Sporting News suggested it wasn't just Williams being great. It was also about the Packers' defense just running out of gas.
Defensive fatigue.
Total fatigue. But the key is that Williams was able to exploit that with, surgical precision, that kind of confidence. It's now flowing through that whole Bears team.
And while the Bears are riding high on momentum, you have the San Francisco 49ers, who kind of bought their ticket to this round at a huge cost, upsetting the Eagles 23-19.
That win was so gutsy, but the cost. That one injury might just change the entire NFC bracket.
George Kittle.
Star tight end George Kittle, yeah. Season-ending Achilles tear. And the sources we looked at put so much weight on that. He isn't just a receiver. He is the engine of their entire zone run game.
So they have to completely change their offense.
A complete tactical pivot, and they have to do it on a short week. It just shows you how fast a Super Bowl window can slam shut.
It really does. Okay, moving over to the AFC. The Texans. That 30-6 win over the Steelers was pure defensive mastery.
It really was a franchise milestone, their first ever road playoff win, and it was all built on defense. They became only the 2nd team in playoff history to score multiple defensive touchdowns without allowing one on offense.
That's not just a fun stat, that actually means something.
It means their defense, led by Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter, can decide a game all by itself. And that changes the math completely when you're about to face the Patriots.
Right, and speaking of the Patriots, they showed their own defensive muscle against the Chargers. 6 sacks on Herbert, barely 200 yards allowed. And then you had the clutch QB play from the Rams and Bills.
Exactly. Matthew Stafford with that 71-yard game-winning drive. Just veteran cool. And Josh Allen, he finally got his first career 4th-quarter game-winning playoff drive. So now we're pitting all this earned momentum against the rest and strategy of these top seeds.
So let's pivot to the divisional round. It all kicks off this Saturday, January 17th. And the reseeding rule means the number 1 seeds get the lowest remaining seed. In the AFC, that gives us a really fascinating matchup to start.
It really does. It's 4.3 p.m. Eastern on CBS. You've got the 6th seed Buffalo Bills traveling to face the number 1 Denver Broncos. So Denver gets the most dangerous team they possibly could have drawn.
So what's the key battle here? I mean, is it Allen's road warrior mentality against Denver's elite defense and, of course, that altitude?
The altitude is the real X factor. Denver's defense is already scary, allowing just over 18 points per game. But that thin air, it makes them even better, especially late in the game when you're exploiting tired legs. And the deep dives we saw, including from sportsbrackets.net, they show that Denver's D coordinator just loves to bring pressure, knowing the Bills' offensive line can struggle with those complex blitzes on the road.
And the history here is a little complicated. The Bills blew them out last year, 31-7. But that was in Buffalo.
Right. A whole different ballgame.
So how are the predictions looking?
It's basically a toss-up, which tells you how much respect both teams are getting. Early odds had Buffalo as a slight favorite, but I think the home rest and altitude are shifting things. Sportsbrackets.net is predicting a tight one, Denver 24-20.
So they're betting on the defense to make a play late.
Exactly. But on the other side, Sporting News is betting on the Josh Allen factor. They have the Bills winning 26-21, believing he can overcome the altitude.
Okay, let's shift to the NFC for Saturday night, 8:00 p.m. Eastern on FOX. The 6-seed 49ers, running on pure grit at the number 1 Seattle Seahawks.
This is the NFC West rubber match. It's their third meeting, and that familiarity, it creates a whole set of problems for both sides. The sources really highlight that Seattle has a huge strategic advantage here. They're rested at home, and they know the Niners' game plan, which is now missing its biggest piece.
One of those sources called Seattle's defense monolithic. What makes them so intimidating for an injured 49ers team right now?
It's their secondary. They led the league in stopping explosive plays, so for the Niners, who need their receivers to make plays after the catch, that's a nightmare. Especially without Kittle's blocking and presence in the middle of the field, Brock Purdy is going to have to be perfect.
But on the flip side, Seattle's not without its own issues, and it really comes down to their quarterback, Sam Darnold.
Absolutely. This is the big risk-reward question. Darnold led the entire NFL with 20 turnovers this season, 14 interceptions, 6 lost fumbles.
That's a staggering number for a number 1 seed quarterback.
Yeah, it really is. So if the 49ers defense can be opportunistic, that's their path. Seattle wants to control the clock, but if Darnold gives them 2 early turnovers, the whole game script just flips on its head.
And the data is definitely leaning towards the home team here.
Oh, yeah. Seattle is heavily favored, around 7.5 points. Sportsbrackets.net predicts a Seahawks win, 2017. They see a low-scoring grind where Seattle's defense just suffocates the 49ers in the end. It's just hard to bet against the rest and the number 1 scoring defense.
Okay, now we move to Sunday, January 18th, kicking off at 3:00 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ABC. It's the 5-seed Houston Texans, with that new defensive swagger, visiting the 2-seed New England Patriots.
This is a coaching chess match. It's a true defense versus defense game, 2 of the top 5 scoring defenses in the league, and it's New England's first home divisional game since 2018, so that crowd will be a factor.
And we've got a QB battle between C.J. Stroud and Drake May, who both had some turnover issues last week. Who can minimize the mistakes against these defenses?
That's the whole game right there. And what's really insightful from the analysis is the tactical matchup. The Patriots' passing offense, believe it or not, ranked best in the NFL in EPA per dropback this season.
EPA per dropback, for you listening, what does that mean in simple terms?
Yeah, good question. It stands for expected points added. It basically means, statistically, they are the most efficient passing attack in the league. They're better than anyone at turning passes into high-value scoring chances.
So an elite, hyper-efficient passing attack.
Going up against a Houston defense that the sources are calling the perfect antidote. Houston's defensive front is just built to create chaos, which is exactly how you disrupt that kind of efficiency. They think they can get to May and force mistakes.
And the predictions seem to be all over the place for this one.
They really are. Early lines favored Houston a bit because of that defense. Sportsbrackets.net predicts the Texans get the road win, 23-17. But Sporting News sees a close Patriots victory, 21-20, arguing that New England's coaching and home field will help May deliver a clutch drive late.
All right, our final game of the weekend. Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC. The 5-seed Los Angeles Rams at the number 2 Chicago Bears. This is pure momentum versus veteran experience in what could be some seriously cold weather.
This is probably the most compelling matchup of the weekend. The Bears, hosting their first home divisional game in 15 years, just riding that Caleb Williams wave. And they're up against Matthew Stafford, who is playing at an MVP level.
The environment could be the big equalizer here. The early forecast for Soldier Field is 23 degrees. The Rams haven't played a playoff game that cold since 1983.
Right. And the sources put a lot of weight on that. Cold weather can really slow down a complex passing offense, which could take away Stafford's biggest weapon, his arm.
But Stafford is also incredibly clutch.
He is. The data shows he has 4 fourth-quarter or overtime game-winning playoff drives since he joined the Rams. Only Mahomes has more. You can't overstate that kind of experience when you're facing a young team that's riding pure adrenaline.
But the Bears' whole identity is creating chaos, forcing mistakes, which is exactly what can happen in sloppy weather.
Precisely. They forced a lead-high 33 turnovers in the regular season. And we saw what they can do in the second half, putting up 25 points in the fourth quarter against Green Bay. The question is, does the cold help them force more turnovers, or does the Rams' experience allow them to avoid those mistakes?
The consensus seems to favor the Rams, but only slightly. Sporting News has them winning 28-24. But SportsBrackets.net is actually calling for another Bears upset, 27-24. They think the momentum, the crowd, and the cold will be just enough.
And if we zoom out from these games, this weekend is going to completely reshape the path to Super Bowl LX, which is set for February 8th, 2026 at Levi's Stadium. Let's look at the current odds from sportsbrackets.net.
So who came out of Wild Card Weekend looking the strongest?
It's clearly the Seahawks. They're the consensus favorite, somewhere between plus 270 and plus 300. They have the bye week home field, and they get to face a division rival they just beat, who is now seriously banged up. Their path is the cleanest.
And the Rams, even with a tough road ahead, are still right there.
Yep, they are the co-favorite in the NFC at plus 320, which shows you how much respect there is for Stafford's arm. But that road trip is definitely factored into those odds.
And in the AFC, those road wins really tightened everything up.
The AFC is wide open now. The Patriots shot up to plus 600 after that defensive performance. The Bills are right behind them at plus 650. And the number one seed, Denver, is at plus 700. The odds makers trust their defense at home, but they were clearly worried about that Bills rematch.
What about our dark horses, the Texans and the Bears?
Houston is gaining a lot of traction, sitting between plus 850 and plus 1200. If their defense keeps scoring touchdowns, those odds will get short fast. The Bears are still the longest shot at plus 1600, which reflects just how hard it would be to beat the Rams and then likely Seattle on the road.
So if we connect this all back, what does the data suggest is the most likely conference championship scenario?
In the AFC, it really points toward the Broncos hosting either the Bills or the Texans. The big challenge for Denver is that both of those teams are coming in with incredible defensive momentum. And in the NFC, it looks like another NFC West showdown, with the Seahawks hosting the winner of the Bears and Rams.
So focus on those favorites' paths one more time. Why should we still believe in the rested number one seeds?
It's history and it's logistics. For Seattle, it's history. Their last 3 times as the number one seed, they went to the Super Bowl. They got the bye, they get to host. Their path is just the least complicated. Denver's is tougher because of the Bills, but that altitude and defense are a huge advantage. Meanwhile, teams like the Bills and Patriots have to keep overcoming these incredibly tough environments.
So this weekend, January 17th and 18th, it promises to be just as dramatic as the wild card round. 4 of those 6 games decided by 4 points or less means we are heading into this with total uncertainty. And we really encourage you to check out the updated printable brackets at sportsbrackets.net to track your own picks for Super Bowl LX.
And here's a final thought for you to really chew on that kind of summarizes the stakes here. The number one seeds, Seattle and Denver, they were sitting at home last week. Seattle has that history of turning number one seeds into Super Bowl trips. But Denver's coach, Sean Payton, he went public saying their offense will have to be better. So will that week of rest and home field be enough for the favorites? Or will these wild card road warriors keep their historic momentum rolling and just shatter the entire bracket?
That's the question that makes the NFL playoffs the best show in sports. Thanks for tuning into this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.